Greetings, it's Harriet here. I hope you've all been having a wonderful week. Welcome back to MyfanwyNia studio here in Leitrim's Iron Mountains. Today's time-lapse drawing is based on an obscure cryptid said to lurk in the Alpine mountains, preying on animals and scaring unfortunate locals. The legendary Tatzelwurm, translated from the German as clawworm. Folklore and anecdotal encounters with the creature known by many as the Dragon of the Alps can be found in several areas of Europe, including Austrian, Bavarian, Italian, and the Swiss Alps. In Alpine folklore, half cat, half serpent, the Tatzelwurm or Stollenwurm describes varying imagery: a large lizard-like creature with very big bright eyes and the face of a cat with sharp teeth, a serpent-like body which may be slender or stout, covered in scales or with fur, 4 short legs or 2 forelegs. I'm working again in my mid-tone sketchbook. I began to figure out the sketch with a black colouring pencil. Not sure at this stage how I'm going to interpret this Tatzelwurm. I do a simple line drawing, not taking any of my marks too seriously, as I'm constantly using an eraser and redefining the sketch. Once I get a basic feel for my composition, I'll hone in on one area, usually the face, as it sets the expression for the rest of the character, then bit by bit focusing on filling out one area at a time, continually reshaping the tonal values with my eraser, and then layering up more colour. My Tatzelwurm is more mischievous than the alleged accounts of the creature, said to be venomous or to attack with poisoned breath and to make high-pitched or hissing sounds. Eyewitness accounts state that the creature can become extremely ferocious, and if the creature does not run away when it sees a person, it will turn and run towards the victim, emitting a high-pitched call and attempt to bite. The earliest documented encounter with the Tatzelwurm is from the 12th century that tells of a dragon-like serpent that was in the midst of terrorizing a village of Unterwalden on Mount Pilatus. Our hero, Heinrich von Winkelried, or Strut von Winkelried in later versions, was a convicted criminal who fought a dragon-like Tatzelwurm in exchange for his freedom. Unfortunately for him, upon execution of the beast, he raised his sword high into the air in triumph, letting a single drop of the creature's blood fall on his skin, killing him instantly. This legend was later included by the Brothers Grimm in their collection of German legends in 1865. Another tale from 1779 is that of Hans Fuchs, who had the misfortune of being one of the first modern victims of the Tatzelwurm. One day, walking in the mountains, Fuchs was startled by 2 bizarre creatures. They terrified him, and he was said to have sped home and subsequently died of a heart attack. But before dying from fright, Hans described the incident to his family. The creature as between 5 and 7 feet in length, with a winding serpent-like body, 2 clawed front legs, and a hat-like head. According to cryptozoologist Lauren Coleman's book Cryptozoology A to Z, a painting by a family member exists from that period, commemorating Hans' false death, depicting 2 large lizard-like creatures lurking in the background. In 1828, a peasant supposedly found the corpse of a Tatzelwurm, which, by the time he managed to bring home, was unrecognizable, torn and mangled by crows that had apparently eaten half the creature. Even so, the Tatzelwurm built up quite a following of believers, and it was in the localities of these stories it was actually considered fact into the 19th century, and only because sightings had become so rare that it was considered possibly extinct. Bernese folklorist Samual Studer contributed greatly to Swiss folklore in the early part of the 19th century. Studer accounts that Stollenwurm is called from Stollen, meaning short feet, and they were believed to appear after humid, hot weather or when the weather is undergoing volatile change. The people considered them to be poisonous and harmful, and to resemble short, stubby serpents with round heads similar to cats and clawed feet. Studer represents perhaps the best source of knowledge on the Stollenwurm available. In contemporary cryptozoology, which is a pseudoscience that aims to prove the existence of such entities from folklore, like Studer, they believe that the Tatzelwurm prefers habitats that is of underground burrows in mountainous areas, and that is actually some kind of rare salamander with characteristics of the 𝐏𝕝𝕐𝕪 monster, one of the world's only venomous lizards, although it is not native to the region. The Tatzelwurm is said to have normal hibernation period, sleeping during the winter in crevices on the mountainside, or they will even sometimes sleep in a hayloft. In the following 2 centuries, many reports were received about the strange monsters lurking in the Alps and attacking livestock of farmers in remote villages. There are many other tales of the legend of the Tatzelwurm. One of a young girl who was working on a Swiss farm, and while chopping down bean poles, she accidentally disturbed a burrow of a Tatzelwurm and was attacked. The Tatzelwurm in this account was described as being grey coloration, about the size of a common domesticated cat, with a fleshy, hairless body, possessing only 2 front legs. According to the story, the Tatzelwurm glared at the girl and she ran away, describing the big bright eyes too intense to meet. There is another story that tells of a man and his son gathering herbs on the mountainside, when the man suddenly hears his son scream and seems to be paralyzed in fear, staring at a rock. The man sprinted to his son only to see the gruesome monster hiding under a rock near his son, which hissed like a snake and had the face of a cat, again with those big bright eyes. The man managed to stab the Tatzelwurm with a sharp stick, easily ripping its flesh. The green blood of the creature sprayed out and burnt the man's leg, making his long journey home painful, limping all the way. In 1934, a Swiss photographer by the name of Balkin claimed to have photographed the Tatzelwurm, creating a surge of revived interest in the creature. The photograph's publication led to the popular Berliner Illustrierte, a weekly illustrated German magazine, to sponsor an expedition to search for the Tatzelwurm. However, results of this wintry expedition were disappointing and interest in the creature all but faded. Today, the majority of cryptozoologists view the photograph taken by Balkin as most certainly a hoax, concluding his photograph was a fabricated image featuring a ceramic fish. Another piece of evidence now considered to be a hoax was the discovery of the Tatzelwurm skeleton, said to have mysteriously been donated to the Geneva Institute sometime in the 1900s. The skeleton, only known by a single photograph, appears to be that of a long snake-like creature with 2 clawed arms and a larger than normal head. It is not certain who donated the skeleton, or if it was ever donated to anyone at all. The majority of researchers believe the photograph and the story behind it to be a hoax. With such a creative mix of accounts, the Tatzelwurm remains wide open for artistic creativity, especially with the lack of any photographic evidence. My drawing is more inspired by the cat side of these stories. I drew him with 4 legs and a fun twisty furry serpentish tail as a chunky extension of his body. He's more rascal than scary and reminds me a little of the Cheshire Cat somehow, perhaps because of the shape of his face. I did have fun drawing him and I do love how he came out. As in many of the stories, my Tatzelwurm has black fur. I used the Pentel brush pen to achieve some additional depth in my shadows and fine details on the fur. This Pentel brush pen is one of my favorite drawing tools. It has a super sharp point with the imprint and flexibility of a fine quality brush. The pen takes replaceable waterproof ink barrel cartridges. The ink is jet black and goes down with a non-streaky, even consistency, excellent coverage, even over colouring pencils which are wax-based. It's like using neat Indian ink with a brush but never having to dip it into the pot. The brush never dries out and never needs cleaning. It dries quite fast once it's on the surface, so I blended it quickly with a dampened cotton tip to fade the ink softly down into my drawing before it had the chance to dry. I also used a white gel pen for some of the sharp highlights in the eyes. The colouring pencils I'm using here are the Derwent black and white tonal set. I used this for the main bulk of my drawing, mainly the black ones, and it gave me a range from warm blacks to cold blacks, more variety in my character which is predominantly black. I added brighter details with Faber-Castell classic colouring pencils, mainly on the ears and the nose and the green in the eyes. I will again link my tools and materials below the video. This was a quick little drawing that took me about an hour in real time to complete. I hope you enjoy my squiggly version of the Tatzelwurm. We are coming to the end of my time-lapse now, so if you have made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon for another video. Bye bye!